Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm Don Cody, your host. My special guest today is a dear and longtime friend and a man who holds a Guinness Book of World Record. Werner Berger is the oldest man on the planet to have climbed the tallest mountain on all 7 continents. But he wasn't always a mountain climber. In fact, he didn't start mountaineering until an age when most people are getting ready to retire. And at 88, he's not done yet. He's got a fascinating story, and I can't wait for you to meet my good friend, Werner Berger. Hey, everybody, it's Don Cody. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm with my dear and longtime friend, Werner Berger. Werner and I go way back. I think we met in 2016, maybe 2017, but we've been dear friends ever since. And I just love this guy, and I know you're going to love him too. Werner, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Don. What a pleasure being with you here.
I'm so glad. You're so busy, I hardly ever get to see you. So these are precious moments for me. I really, really appreciate you taking your valuable time to come and share some of your wisdom with our audience. So here's what I'd like to do. Rather than me interrupting with a whole bunch of questions that might not take you where you want to go, what I'd love for you to do, in the intro, I told everybody, you're a very successful mountaineer, but I didn't give that spoiler about the big news. But here's what I'd love to do. You weren't always a mountaineer. You had a very successful life before that. If you could tell us just a little bit pertinent the details about how it came to be that you were doing this, and then all of a sudden you were doing that, the mountaineering. And then I'd love for you to tell, once we kind of understand the path, and I'd love for you to kind of tell us where you're going to, where you are and where you're going. So tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Well, some people will probably hear a little bit of an accent and wonder, where's this guy from? So I'll start way back when. I was born and raised in South Africa. My dad was interned during the war because he wasn't a naturalized South African citizen. After he came back, six years after, we ended up not being very good friends. And I ended up going to university, and one of my orientations was, how do I escape from this man? And one of my paths was to actually leave South Africa because I was a geologist at the time, and go to Canada and become a geologist there, and sort of found myself there. At the end of my first summer, I got laid off, much to my surprise, never heard of winter layoffs, and went back to university, got a master's, got married at the end, and found that geology in North America and marriage don't work very well together.
Really?
You spend most of your time in the bush in the summer, and you spend your time on the ice and snow in the winter doing geophysical prospecting. And so I went and did a master's in business administration and was going to work with Procter & Gamble coming out of that. But just before that happened, I took over the running of a small company, 17 employees, grew it like crazy for 15 years. And in retrospect, I keep asking myself, why did I do that? Because Procter & Gamble was such a clear direction for my life, which had really not been very clear up to that point. But I realized that my dad had always talked about entrepreneurship and doing things on your own and not listening to other people and not having a boss. So that was sort of groundwork to me becoming an entrepreneur in a business setting. Then 15 years later, was simply tired of the rat race. Always looking for where's the next dollar come from? Where's the next sale coming from? And retired, sold off the company and retired.
And how old were you at that point?
42.
40. You retired in 42. Wow. Okay.
5 years later, couldn't stand retirement any longer. And thought, I've got to find something to do because I'd become a house husband. And my ex had actually started her own business and was really successful at it. And I really was languishing, cleaning up, doing the yard, mowing the grass, etc., etc. And that was
Mm.
not the way I saw the rest of my life. So I did a couple of job applications in senior positions. Nothing worked out. And stumbled onto somebody that was in the consulting field. And this guy said, "Hey, I run my own business under this umbrella company. Why don't you look at this?" And I met that person in the forum, which of course is the derivative of est. So,
Well, wow. In the forum. Okay.
yeah.
And I'm a graduate as well.
So I did est in 82. I did the forum in 89. I did it again in 92. And that's where I met him. And so I hooked my kite to an umbrella company called the Performance Management Group. And in the next few years, grew like crazy
Wow.
because I never had any training on even the basic communication skills. You don't teach that in an MBA. You don't teach
Right.
that in a master's geology degree or a BSc in mining geology. So the door just opened wide. And for the next 15 years, I just absolutely loved what I did. Unfortunately, got divorced during that period because I grew one way, my ex grew in the other way. And although she's a wonderful woman and was a wonderful mother to my kids, our lives were not destined to continue together. And then met another woman. And one thing led to the next, went to a Robert Allen seminar. And
The real estate guy.
yeah, and that blew another set of socks off in terms of what I can accomplish because I'd already started climbing. And
Oh, so what propagated you to start climbing?
I was sitting in one of the forum workshops, and the guy in front said, "Think of 3 things that you would love to do before you die, but you don't ever think that it'll come to pass."
Wow.
What flashed into my mind, and it really just flashed into my mind, I didn't have to do much thinking, was I want to climb Kilimanjaro because I was born in Africa. And I was always sort of into the athletic domain of tennis and skiing, water skiing and snow skiing, etc. Played rugby at school. And the other one that came to mind was Everest Base Camp. Because when
Wow.
Hillary and Tenzing summited Everest in 53, I was so enthralled. I was a farm kid in South Africa, hearing the news over radio, probably 2 or 3 or 4 weeks after the happening. And this was a huge thing for me. Other kids, I talked about it. I was sort of blasé. But then I forgot about it. But then Everest Base Camp came to mind. And then the other one that came to mind was the Matterhorn, because everybody knows this beautiful mountain in Switzerland. And I thought, wow, I really want to do that. Never thinking it would. Lo and behold, my second oldest son one day came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, you said you wanted to trek to Everest Base Camp. Why don't we do it?" So in 1992, we trekked to Everest Base Camp.
So how old were you when you started mountaineering?
54.
Wait, this is when most people are thinking about retiring and buying that rocking chair to sit on the porch and wait for the Grim Reaper. And you decided to go climb mountains nonetheless, Everest.
Not Everest,
Wow.
just to base camp. But
Well,
that's still a
well,
54-minute ride.
16,000 feet, right?
17 and a half.
Okay. All right. So it's up there, still up there.
10 days of trekking, 17 and a half. And because of happenings during this, we changed our route to some extent. We did base camp, but then we did a ton more.
Really?
And for the next 4 months after coming back, I was walking on a cloud. I
Hmm.
was thinking of it. I was talking about it. And every time I did this, there was this flush of excitement, of anticipation. And I kept saying, I want to do more. I want to do more. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do more, I need to become a mountaineer, not just a high altitude trekker or hiker.
And that's a distinction that I think, including me, people don't really have. So can you talk about what's the difference?
Key difference is a climber actually will usually use technical equipment on certain mountains, like Mount Kilimanjaro at 19,331 feet. You don't need technical equipment. It's a
Okay.
high altitude hike. But the minute you get onto something like Aconcagua or Everest or Elbrus, you need to have boots and you need to have crampons and you need to have ice axes or at a minimum ski poles. But usually with those mountains, it's ice axes.
Right.
And of course, in any of those multi-day climbs, you need to have sleeping bags and tents and backpacks. And if you're self-sufficient, you take food and cooking utensils, etc., with you. So in treks or climbing, the latter can both apply. But in treks, usually you're just on your feet. And you might have a trekking poles, but no other gear, no ropes, no carabiners.
So you've already said that you are relatively athletic, but I have to imagine that it takes a certain nutrition, another level of nutrition and another level of cardiovascular work and maybe even resistance training or whatever. Can you just give us a little glimpse into when you decided that you were going to do that? What changed with your regiment?
Well, the minute I really started looking into health and well-being, it led me really to 5 conclusions. One of them is we have to reduce our toxin intake. We have to. Our bodies can't deal with an overload of toxins. We have to seek good nutrition. We can't just eat anything that we feel like eating, which might be cake all day with some people, or tons of sugar or stuff that really is harmful to the body. So nutrition and supplementation become important. Supplementation because our foods are nutritionally depleted, given that really we don't have farming any longer. We have corporate entities that push profit.
They're manufacturing food, not growing it, right?
Thank you. That's a really good term. The next thing our bodies absolutely need, regardless of what you do, is exercise. Doesn't matter if you're going to climb or if you want to live a healthy longevity, you have to exercise and keep your body limber. And then the final one, of course, has to be to find some degree of life balance. And that simply could mean, spending time reading, spending time meditating, spending time with yourself, not always in the rat race. And then the first,
Now, that sounds like mindset management to me. Would you?
absolutely,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely. It's actually, it's more than management actually, but it's the grounding is management.
What would you call that piece of it where the mindset is such a critical element?
It's a switch to from knowing to automatically doing,
Okay.
where it becomes second nature to be polite, for example, or to care about others, or to pick up a piece of paper on the sidewalk, if that's your orientation, or to look after somebody that's in trouble, as opposed to walk by and say, oh, somebody else will deal with it. It's an automatic. It's not a choice. It's not a doing this any longer. It's basically who are you being when you are existing in this universe? And I guess the foundation is, are you cooperative and supportive, or are you greedy and taking? And I know those are the extremes.
Yes. Well, you and I have talked about this many times before, both being landmark education graduates with the forum. I did the full curriculum for a living. And the name of that science is ontology, but you and I know it as be do have. So just I know there's so much more you are personally experienced that and understand and teach people about. Could you touch on that just a little bit? Because you're such a master at that.
I don't know if I told you, I just wrote a book. I'm in the final editing phase, called Unstoppable from Within. And I'm planning to have, or actually, the first one is designed as a men's version because B for men is different than the B for women,
For
although
sure.
the root is the same. But the how-to is different because the
Mhm.
orientation of us being competitive and masters of our world is different from the cooperative tendency of women, not all women, tendency
Mhm.
of women.
Right.
And so the book is all about taking the false premise of when you work hard, you will have things. And when you have things, you will be somebody. That's a complete reversal because we know so
Backwards.
many,
Yeah.
yeah, because we know so many people that are, I'm not going to use a word, but I don't really mean it this way, stinking rich,
Right.
don't have a life.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and yet we have other people that are being themselves congruent with who they are and what their calling is, don't have much money, and couldn't be happier,
Right.
are supportive of the environment, supportive of other people, because that's their nature. So the book is all about challenging do have be to switch or to help us transition into be, and then you will do what you're congruent and destined to do, and then you will have what you ultimately want to have anyway, which is a happy life. And it might mean
And
money.
it
Of course, it's going to
and it
money.
and it so aligns with the universal conversation that seems to be going on in the world now about authenticity. I know that when we talk about people doing videos on TikTok or wherever, the ones that get all the play, the ones that get all the viral things, are the people that, generally speaking, are. And I'm not talking about the sensational stuff, but if someone just comes on and is talking, the more genuine and authentic they are, the more they're just being themselves. Those are the people that get so much attention.
Yeah, your word is right on track, authentic.
Hmm.
And you cannot be in the present without being authentic.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and I learned this actually on one of my climbs. It was just an awesome moment where I was standing against this huge rock wall and everything was perfect. And I really mean everything was perfect.
Mhm.
I wasn't me. I was just blended into where I was. I
Okay.
looked up at the sky and just marveled. And this wasn't made up. This was just all automatic. And that feeling was just like, oh my gosh. And of course, that sucked me into wanting to do more on the mountains. And that's why I still take people on trips.
I was going to say, and share it, because you do take people. I remember the story you told me a really long time ago. You maybe could tell a short version of this. You were bringing some top level executives, some C-suite executives, to the top of a mountain, and it was a treacherous, difficult hike, and they came down as different people. But you tell your version of that story, because it always touched me.
Well, the interesting part is it doesn't need to be a C-suite. So ultimately, I morphed into saying anybody can come because
Mhm.
ultimately, I don't know a single person that's come off a trek with me. This is not a climb. This is a trek to base camp. This could be a trek to Machu Picchu via the Inca Trail, or it
Okay.
could be a trek up to Mount Kilimanjaro. Them having found something in themselves that they didn't not know was there.
Wow.
A resilience. And I don't ever know what to call it because they don't know what to call it, but they know that something has changed. And they literally say, my life will never be the same. But when I say in what way, they can't tell you. But in the months and the weeks after, they have some insights that surprise them or that suddenly start a glow in them. I don't, again, know the right words to use here, but something has shifted. And
Well,
that's why I climbed. It wasn't for the accomplishment of the climb. Oh, I have to tell you this. Yeah.
sure.
The very first climb I was going to do was Mount McKinley.
Okay.
And I applied for it because I thought, oh, here's a formidable mountain where I can get practice on ice and snow, and I can go with a group and get coaching. And they wrote back, no, you can't come. You don't have enough experience. Go and climb Mount Rainier, be there on 5 days in ice and snow, come back, and then apply. And they didn't think that this would happen. They thought the Rainier would do me in. Anyway, a year
Sure.
later, I was on McKinley, and we got hammered by storms.
Wow.
Normal climbing takes about between 14 and 18 days. We were on the mountain for 24 days.
Holy cow.
We finally got to the summit ridge, which was only about 230 feet below the top. And we could not continue because of blasting winds. So we backed off wisely because of our guides. The next morning I said to them, because it was nice and sunny, oh, great, we can go again. And they said, not a chance, because your body has to regenerate itself, and it'll take between 5 and 7 days at this altitude to do that. Anyway, when I came off the mountain, people would say, you must be so disappointed that you didn't get to the summit after being so close. I think everything in me rebelled to this comment. My response was, this gives me a chance to go back again.
And
And it came from inside. This was not a thought answer. And I really meant it. And
you know what's
the journey is the destination. I'm sorry,
yeah.
I'm cutting you off, but
No, that's okay. That's okay. What it reminds me of is I just interviewed Dr. Greg Sanders. He had 7 children and lost 3 of them.
oh my God.
And he said it was so difficult. This is 2018, wasn't very long ago. And then a man of God, a pastor, he actually heard God tell him, he said 2018 is the worst year of my life. And he said, God said, no, it's not. You need to understand it's the best year of your life. And that's when he lost a 23 and a 25-year-old in the same year.
Oh,
And he said, how could it possibly be? And he said, you had those children for 23 and 25 years. Stop focusing on the loss and start focusing on what you gained. And so what I see in your story is you climbed a mountain through 24 days when it was supposed to be, half of that. And you succeeded in so many ways, in so many things. Instead of focusing on that 280 feet, you focused on the successes that you had, not what you didn't have. And I just love that. And so many people would be so much happier in their lives if they would do that.
I love chatting with you because you really always catch the essence of what we talk about. And really what you touched on is the essence. And this was not a thought. This was not me thinking, oh, I need to find the positive in this. This was just excitement and exuberance of having had that experience and being able to have it again. Because I had to go back, of course, to do the last 200 feet.
Which goes back to
Sorry for cutting you off.
which goes back to the being, right? So you were just being present to the awesomeness of that experience. You had said something a moment ago about, sometimes in these instances, there's no words to be able to say that. And I know you're very versed in understanding the brain and how it works, and that the amygdala is where the seat of emotion is, and it doesn't have any words. And sometimes we're just experiencing that emotion in the moment, and there is no words. And if we can be okay with that and just be present to that awesomeness of those emotions, life would be so much better. And I know you're so good at that. So, but you have put yourself in a position in your life to experience those golden moments much more often than the average person. And so you've got so much. And listen, I know we could talk for days and days, and we don't have that much time. So here's what I'd love for you to do, Werner, is if you could tell us a little bit about like what your plans are now, like what are you doing right now, and what the future holds for you. I think the audience would be, as I am, stunned to hear what you have in store.
Well, for the last year, Heshy, my wife, and I have talked about, where do I go from here? I've had 2 knee replacements. I didn't do great on the last Everest Base Camp trek about a year ago because I couldn't get fit enough given the recency of my knee replacements. And somehow about a year ago, the idea came up, climb Kilimanjaro at age 90.
Wow. And so you're 88 right now.
I'm 88.
Less than hard.
And that could be a symbol in terms of what is possible if you have your health. And we've all heard this comment over and over and over. If you don't have your health, what do you have? What do you have? What do you have?
Nothing.
And over the last week, we started talking about our bigger vision, or the legacy that we've always wanted to leave. And the legacy is to leave a world in far better shape than when we came into it, or than it is now. Because ultimately, until we have an aligned humanity, we will continue to have strife and disagreements, potentially wars, as opposed to thriving on this magnificent globe and everything that's been given to us. And so the thought came to pass, why don't we find a way of combining the Kilimanjaro climb in 2 years' time with creating a movement that's going to involve children, because ultimately they are our future. And so many of us fellows,
Fellows.
we probably
We can say that.
we probably cannot change. However, the young, I think, have a different vision of what life should be. And I'm almost seeing them living more into the being part, pretty naturally, even though our conditioning isn't that. So how can we combine these two? And that's the first pass that I sent you, that you called earlier potentially a
News release.
Yeah, a press release. Yeah, and it could become that. And right now we sort of in the planning stage in terms of exactly what do we want the purpose or the mission to be. First, what's the vision? Of course, a better world. What is the mission? And then what are the measurable outcomes that we want this quest, plus whatever else we add to it, to achieve? And that's the planning phase we're in right now. And thank goodness I have her as my partner, because on my own, I wouldn't go through this hardship. And I'm not talking about the climb that I'm comfortable with, but really making this movement into something dynamic that makes a difference rather than just an old part climbing a mountain.
Well, and your bride, Heshy, is a master at that, right? She has her own nonprofit. She helps children around the world with clean water, making sure they have enough clean water. If I recall the statistics, 5,000 children a year die because they don't have clean water, and she's out to fix that. So she's a master at being able to put that mission and vision into play and rally people. She's rallied thousands and thousands of people to be able to, help with that cause. But this is even bigger than that. I mean, that's important and valuable, but this is way bigger. I mean, you're talking about changing the mentality of the world, and that's huge. What we haven't talked about yet is, first of all, you climbing Kilimanjaro at 90 is going to be a world record, but you're already a Guinness Book of World Record holder. Can you tell us when that happened and a little bit about it?
Yeah, I actually accomplished it in 2013 when I climbed a mountain called Karsten's Pyramid in Papua New Guinea. At that point, I'd already climbed the 7 summits, which are the 7 highest mountains on the 7 continents.
Right.
However, the Australian mountain on this massive continent is only about 7,200 feet in height. So from a climber's perspective, that doesn't rate. But Karsten's Pyramid in Indonesia is a formidable climb, especially with the jungle trek into it. And from a climber's perspective, that replaces Kosciuszko. And with that quiver on my hip pocket, I became a Guinness Book of Record climber summits, or the Messner 7, as it's also.
Messner 7, right? Yeah.
And by the way,
and you still hold that record today. Amazing.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at a living legend.
Thank you, Todd. Just a little correction. 5,000 kids die a day from drinking.
Oh my gosh, I got that
water. No, that's fine. Actually, I just want to be sure that Hesse's mission
magnitude,
is so much larger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, and she's made a huge impact on that. So, she's the correct business partner from that standpoint to help you with bringing this mission to fruition. But you have another in your back pocket, and that's me. So whatever you need me to do to help get the word out about this mission, and I know you're only a week into creating it. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to have any details now, but guess who's coming back on the show to give us more details from time to time. So you'll have a way to be able to get with him. I'm going to put his contact information in the show notes, so you'll have that. But we're not done with this interview just yet. So tell us, mostly for really selfish reasons, I'd really like to know what your preparatory pattern is going to be. How are you going to change and update your nutrition? What kind of exercises are you going to do? How are you going to prepare for this, since you had that experience where you didn't have the opportunity to prepare appropriately for base camp last time? What are you going to do different?
Just simply more activity, physical activity. And that has to revolve around really 3 things: core strength, and cardiovascular strength, and leg strength. Those are the keys. Leg strength, there's some really easy exercises that anybody can Google. Cardiovascular, running is not a great preparation. Climbing is the best, even if it's on a stairwell.
Yeah. So how about a Stairmaster at the gym? Is that good training?
Especially if you put it on a slight slope.
Okay.
Or a stair stepper is even.
Yeah. So so what you're saying is if you get on the treadmill and put it at an incline, that's best. But the Stairmaster is just a set of stairs, so you really can't angle that, right? But Stairmaster would be sort of emulating the natural stepping up the mountain, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because that really works on the quads quite differently to an incline.
Yeah.
On its own.
Yeah, going up exercise as well. Of course, the calves are really durable muscles. Anyway, you can exercise those almost every day. Is that right?
Most extreme weight activities,
right,
or weighted activities, because yes, as you said, they are strong. It's the quads really and the core that need to truly work.
So give us an idea about what someone could do, just an average person who's not planning to climb any mountains anytime soon. But I mean, I just had a really dear friend of mine. Oh, you know Ben Gay. So I just talked to Ben Gay the other day. Ben Gay the third, 83 years old. 6 months ago, he fell down and broke his pelvis in 2 places. And so we were talking at the time about bone density. So what a lot of people don't realize is, and I know you're a master again at this, but when you do weightlifting, you're not just building muscles and strengthen tendons and ligaments. You're also building bone density, which if you do happen to lose your balance, you unlikely to break things as much as if you don't do that kind of thing. So resistance training, especially lower body, is so critical. So what would you recommend for core strength for people and balance work?
Oh, there are a number of activities. Oh, there are a number of raising your legs, either upright or lying flat. Definitely lifting, coming up with hands and legs together on your
Oh yeah,
feet
okay.
is really good.
Yeah, like a V, lifting your
What?
torso
That's
and your feet at the same
what?
time.
Like a V
Okay.
works really well because that really works the gut. Um, the other thing
What
is,
about side planks or front planks?
I was just going to say, planks are another good way of doing it.
Okay.
Side
Okay.
planks might be hard on the shoulder for older people, but again, that's definitely a possibility. Lying on your back with your legs tucked up and bringing your bum up so that your legs are here and your body is here is another
Okay.
good one. And then holding that, not just
Yeah.
up and down, but
So
holding
isometric.
30 seconds.
Yes. Isometric is also good.
And then, of course, the other one is lying on your tummy and folding your legs up and your arms up, which I'm having a hard time doing. But every little bit that I can do is
Sure.
going to strengthen those back muscles. And I have
Yeah.
to do more. And I hate doing that exercise, but I have to do more.
Yeah, as you know, my wife and I are both, Gabrielle and I are both certified personal trainers, and she calls those Supermans and hollow holds. And so when you're on your back and you have hold your feet and your torso up or your arms up, the hollow hold helps the front set of muscles. But then you get on your stomach and do the reverse, and it helps the lower back muscles, the Christmas tree we call it, those muscles back in the lower back. All of these things are magic, but the funny thing is everybody can do them. There's just I mean, unless you've had an injury, anybody can lie flat on the floor and on their tummy and raise their feet and raise their hands. Now you might not be able to do it for a really long time, but little by little. So it's about duration, right? It's about consistency over time. You've given yourself 2 years to get ready for the hike of Kilimanjaro, right? Or the trek rather. What would you recommend to people if they haven't done anything at all and they want to start getting into shape? Where would you start them?
It would depend a lot on the physical frame, how heavy they are.
Mm-hmm.
I had a gentleman, 5'7", 5'8" in height, 320 pounds, wanted to climb
Wow.
Kilimanjaro with me. I said to him, Robbie, I will take you if you lose 100 pounds. And Robbie said, yeah, I will do that. I said to him, okay, how long are you going to persist in this? And he said, however long it takes. And I gave him a set of exercises, said, you do this for a year on a nutritional plan. At the end of the year, we'll be in touch. And if you're ready, we'll go. End of the year came. Robbie hadn't got there. 7 calls later, 7 years later, I didn't call him. He called me about 2 months later and said, have you given up on me? Or have you died? That was his first word. Then he said, have you given up on me? And I said, no, I haven't given up on you, but there was no point in putting more stress on you in terms of you doing what you said you wanted to do. And he said, well, count on me. We are going, and I'm booking. So we booked the next year. So he was locked in. And I said to him, Robbie, but you have to lose 100 pounds. stayed in touch with him a couple of times during it. He came down to 280. When I saw him at the airport, he was back to 290. This is
Ooh.
airport in Africa. And I said to myself, what am I going to do with this guy? He should not be on this mountain. You can't come, Robbie, was in my head. But then I smartened up and said, he's spent all this money. Let him go as far as he can go. And his body will tell him, especially when we monitor him and not let him do it, how far he can go. Robbie got up to high camp at 17,000 feet.
Wow.
He took much longer than most people. He sweated buckets.
No doubt.
There were times to be really sorry for him. There were times to be amazed and proud as heck for him. He got to high camp. And then he said, it's enough. And I said, if you think it's enough, Robbie, you know your body better than I do. He came away saying this was the best experience he has ever had in his entire life.
Life changing.
Thank goodness I didn't say to him, you can't come.
Thank goodness, right.
And I've got goosebumps talking about it.
Yeah, I know, I get it. I totally get it.
Wow.
That's amazing. You have changed so many lives. Tell us just a little bit about nutrition. So what are the things that people are doing wrong or that they should change? What are the handful of things that you see over and over that you can just go, hey, change this, this, and this, and you'll be, 80% better off than you are now? What are those things that you see?
There are three keys, absolutely. One is carbs, one is proteins, and the other one is fats.
Mm-hmm.
And the proportions that we have the sense are right. Nobody knows for sure. 5 parts carbs, 3 parts protein, 2 to 3 parts protein, 1 part fat. And some people say, that's not quite enough. And of course, different metabolisms need something different. So the key is get those into you every single meal. And the interesting part is the healthier the body becomes, the more it seeks good nutrition.
Right.
But there's also this stepping stone, this turning point. And until you get to the turning point, the cravings for the other things are extremely strong. So the final part to all of this is to have a goal. Goal that you completely committed to. Now, Robbie losing almost 40 pounds, was a great start. And I don't know how that transformed his system to have him be able, at his weight, to climb as far as he did.
Right.
I think at that point it became mind over matter for him.
Mm-hmm.
So the other part really is a compelling reason for losing weight, other than, I'll look better.
Right.
It's usually not enough unless there's there's a serious consequence for not looking better. And sometimes it's a life-changing experience. If I don't do this, I will pass on in 6 months. The key for every motivation is the consequence has to be personal. The more immediate it is, the more compelling it is, and the more certain it is, the more compelling it is. What is not compelling is if somebody else gains satisfaction from it, like I work for a corporation and I make them a ton of money, but I get no accolades. So my motivation to put my heart and soul into my work diminishes. The other part is, if it's not certain and it's too far in the future, again, it doesn't have much motivation power. So we want to have any of the ODGs, organization delayed and a gamble, to PICs, personal, immediate, and certain.
Wow.
Personal, certain.
And people are going to stop that and rewind it and listen to that part over again, because that's valuable information right there. I can tell you, I have a a personal challenge I'm really healthy and I'm really fit. And that's a problem actually with motivation, because I'm like, I'm good. Right. And so if I skip the gym, what's the big deal? No good. Right. And I have to fight against that, so that when you were talking about the immediateness and the urgency of it, when someone doesn't feel that, when someone feels, hey, I'm fine. I went to my doctor, and true story. I went to my doctor about a year ago, and I said, Doc, I feel like I need to lose some weight, and I need doctor's orders. Come on, Doc, I need doctor's orders. He hadn't done any blood work yet, so he said, okay, yeah, sure. It sounds like you should probably, if you think you should, right? So he's really very lukewarm about it.
Mhm.
I came back and they had me do blood work, and I came back in a few months, and he goes, oh my gosh, you're pre-diabetic.
Mhm.
You're like right on the cusp. You're not pre-diabetic. You're just before pre-diabetic. And if you don't lose some weight,
Mhm.
you're going to end up taking medication. And I said, not in a million years am I going to take medication when I know this is a lifestyle thing, right? I know that I'm not, like, my dad was type 1 diabetic, right? So his pancreas just didn't work. And
Right.
so nothing he could do. But I think that the type 2 is really, type 2 diabetes, I think, is a misnomer, because it's
Right.
really insulin resistance.
Mhm.
And when you call it diabetes, it seems permanent and unchangeable, which is not true. And so I was like, oh, Doc, wait till the next time you see me. So my wife and I decided that we were going to do a fitness contest. Now, she's already done one, as you know, and she lost 60 pounds to do it. And at 54 years old, she won second place in a bikini contest. Right. And so, and I don't know about the bikini thing, but I feel like, you know what? The point you're making, and all my story is all about, is that you said you need a goal. So I said to the doc, wait till you see me next time. And we decided that in March of next year, we're going to actually be under 10. I'm going to be under 10%. She's going to be under 15%. And it's more like 30% for me right now. I'm happy. I'm comfortable. I don't take any pills. I'm not, but the reason why I'm keep asking you about this stuff is I want to know the wisdom behind those glasses of yours, and help me to get in shape so I can climb a mountain with you as well.
Going to add to what we're saying, you have to create a process,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to record. It might not be weigh yourself every day. Some people really get off on weighing themselves every day, and it becomes the inspiration to do more. Some
Mm-hmm.
absolutely do not want to do that, because it becomes a demotivator when they see that.
Yeah, because it kind of goes up and down.
Yeah. So, but the minimum, you have to record. What are you doing to get there? And you want to create as powerful an action plan as you possibly can do. And my recommendation there is get a mental picture of what you want to look like on March. And it could
Yep.
be a weight, it could be a shape, it could be a health measure, whatever can be measured tangibly. What does that look like? And really feel, that you've achieved that, be that already. And then step into that frame. Look back at today and say, Don, let me list all of the things that I did to get here. Not what do I need to do to get there? What did I do to get here? And in business, they're called critical success factors, which you already know. But
Yep.
I'm going to say it anyway. They're called critical success factors. And around those critical success factors, which are things that you have to do because you said that that's what got you here.
Yep.
You now build an action plan.
Yep. Or KPIs, right? Key performance indicators,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I have a little trick. I don't know if anybody will find this helpful, but I'm a big admirer of how in shape Sylvester Stallone is. And he just turned 72.
Mhm.
And so I take him to the gym with me. So I imagine when I'm doing that leg press, that he's standing right beside me with that gruff voice of his saying, "You got another one in you."
And
Right?
recognize
And
the
push
last one.
Go ahead, please.
and just recognize it's the last one that you can just push that creates
Yes,
muscle. If you're looking
it
for
oh,
muscle.
absolutely. It's the last one, not the first one or the second one, but the last one. Absolutely.
However,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily the best way to lose weight, is not to
Oh,
do
of
very
course.
heavy work, because that means you need to nutrient your body, or your body is going to desire
Right.
nutrition. You want to lose the weight before you start building muscle.
Yep. And something else you said a minute ago, I want to circle back to because I want to make sure people really lock this in. You said that they wouldn't let you go that last 280 feet because it would take 7 days for your body to recover. And that's what I see a big part of the people eat good, they'll eat right, they know they're watching their macronutrients, fats and protein and carbs, but they're in the gym 6 days a week and they're not giving and I tell people all the time, you break down muscle in the gym, but you rebuild it in the bedroom. And so unless you're getting at least 90 minutes of deep sleep and 30 minutes of REM sleep, you're not getting enough recovery and you're not getting enough of time for your body to rebuild. So what's the point? You just keep breaking it down, breaking it down, right? So this is something that I know you teach people when you're getting them ready to climb with you is you gotta allow yourself the recovery time.
Oh, totally. In fact, if somebody comes on a climb, let's say Kilimanjaro, we take them on a 5-day safari first. And during that period, they're not exercising. They're not doing anything out of just enjoying themselves and getting attuned to the altitude, because the Serengeti is at 5,000 feet. So
The base of Serengeti is 5,000 feet?
correct.
So the Serengeti is the plateau.
No, the Serengeti is actually the Rift Valley with all of the animals in Tanzania and into Kenya.
Yeah.
So we're actually on an animal sightseeing safari for that week. But the key here, this is where the comment came in, no exercise, specific exercise. Some stretching, okay. Some walking, okay. But nothing exertion, because a mountain needs you to be in a healthy shape.
In peak state, yeah.
I'm going to do a little tweak to what I heard you say about the last 200 feet on Everest. No, on Aconcagua. Yeah. It was going from high camp back up the 3,000 feet to the summit that the body could not do.
Oh no, I was talking about McKinley.
Did I not? What did I?
You had mentioned that they wouldn't let you go. Wasn't it and I might have got the details of the story wrong. You made it almost all the way to the top, and when you came down, people kept saying, "Aren't you disappointed?" You're like, "No, I'm ecstatic." Right? That last few feet, but they said you would need to recover before your body was ready to be able to do it. And it was about the recovery that really resonated with me.
Yeah, actually, I had misinterpreted what you said, and please cut this part out. I thought,
no, we're not cutting anything out. This is all gold.
I thought you just meant they wouldn't let us do the last 200 and some odd feet. Or they wouldn't let us go from high camp to 3,000 feet to the summit. That's what our bodies could not have done.
I see.
The reason we backed off going to the summit was simply because of the icy cold, gusty winds that would have had the chance of blowing us off the summit ridge.
Right. And I thought you said, and the next morning when it was sunny, you said, "Hey, let's go." And they're like, "Nope, we're going to recover."
Yeah. Right on track.
Yeah. So I know it's too early to really nail this down because you've only been planning now for a week to do the Kilimanjaro trip when you reach your 90th birthday. But is there a possibility that you'll take people with you? Are you thinking you might do a fundraiser to cover the cost? Because I know it's expensive to be able to, climb a mountain. People might not realize that, but there's gear involved and there's Sherpas involved and there's food involved. This is an awful lot involved, and it's not a money-making thing at all. But can people go with you? Is that a possibility?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
In fact, the plan is to have not just one or two groups come with us. And it also includes kids getting
Kids.
involved. Oh, absolutely. We want kids in mass involved. And Heshi will be with them at the base, doing coaching, training, learning, experiencing activities while we're on the mountain for the 6 days, or 7 days, actually, by the time we get back down. 6 days up, 1.5 days down. Oh, yes, I definitely want a lot of people from all different walks of life. And it definitely has to be interracial. It has to be people and actually kids from feuding, has to be people and actually involved so that, we
Thinking, right?
yeah.
Kids are malleable and they can get those concepts when adults are stuck in their ways.
Oh, yeah. It's just the beliefs that keep us so separate.
Right.
And the belief,
So,
sorry.
so I want to bang the drum on your behalf to all my seniors. So if you're in your 50s, remember that's when Werner started mountain climbing, right? So don't think you're too old. And he's going up there at 90. Now, I know he's got a little bit of experience, but I don't care. If you're a senior, I want you to be a successful senior, a successful climber as well. So if you're saying, yeah, me, I need some help in nutrition and exercise and that sort of thing, no problem. We'll help you with that. But if you're watching this episode, early on in this 2-year process, and you think you'd like to go, reach out to Werner, let him know that you're interested, or reach out to me. But we're gonna see if we can rally some seniors and represent out there.
Yeah, that's the
So
whole mission. Life isn't
yeah.
over at 60, 70, or 80.
Well, I'm 67, so that's I'll be almost 70 when you're 90. And you've been inviting me for years now to help come climb with you. I'm ready, Werner. I'm coming with you.
I was 69 when I did Everest. So you'll be 69 when you do Kilimanjaro with me.
All
Awesome.
right. There we go. We're going to put that in the records here.
Sounds
All right.
awesome.
Well, we have been chatting for nearly an hour. Every moment has been precious and priceless. All the gems, all the wisdom that you've shared. And yet it's only a fraction of what I know you can offer this audience. So I'm going to invite you back often so that you can give us updates on this mission that you're on and tell us more and more about how we can help you. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it.
Totally my pleasure, Don. Every moment, even on the phone for 5 minutes, is a gift with you.
I'm humbled. All right. Stay right there. Don't go away. Folks, thanks for tuning in today. I know this has been valuable to you. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.